All right, we're picking up on part 2. Remember, anything italicized is a summary of the text. So since we're reading an excerpt, it's going to give us a summary of the sections that we are not reading. Sea perils and defeat. Odysseus and his men traveled to the floating islands of Aeolus, god of the winds, who then gave Odysseus a bag containing all of the unfavorable winds. With only the good west wind behind them, Odysseus and his crew made rapid progress. Odysseus fell asleep when Ithaca was in sight, but his men, believing that Odysseus was not sharing valuable treasures with them, opened the bag. Instantly, the winds rushed out, blowing them back to Aeolus, who refused to help them a second time. After several days back at sea, they reached the land of the Lastrygonians, monstrous cannibals. Only Odysseus' ship and crew escaped destruction. Next stop, a thickly forested island. When Odysseus sent half of his remaining men to explore the interior, only a single breathless survivor returned. He told Odysseus that the goddess Circe had lured the rest of them to her house with food and wine, and then turned them into pigs. Odysseus rescued them, forcing Circe to restore his men to their original forms with a magical herb provided by the messenger god Hermes. Before Circe allowed Odysseus to leave a year later, he had to journey to the land of the dead. There, he learned from the blind prophet Tiresias that he would eventually return home, but that he must not injure the cattle of the sun god Helios. Upon Odysseus' return from the land of the dead, Circe repeated this warning and described the dangers that Odysseus would encounter. First, he'd meet the sirens, who lure sailors to their deaths with a beautiful song. Then, the many-headed Scylla, who lurks in a cave on a high cliff above a ship-devouring whirlpool named Charybdis. She instructed him to steer toward Scylla and try not to fight back. Odysseus continues telling his host about his adventures. As Circe spoke, Dawn mounted her golden horse, and on the first rays Circe left me, taking her way like a great goddess up on the island. I made straight for the ship, roused up the men to get aboard and cast off at the stern. They scrambled to their places by the rowlocks, and all in line dipped oars into the gray sea. But soon an offshore breeze blew to our liking, a canvas-bellying breeze, a lusty shipmate sent by the singing nymph with sunbright hair. So we made fast the braces and we rested, letting the wind and steersman work the ship. The crew being now silent before me, I addressed them sore at heart. Dear friends, more than one man or two should know these things Circe foresaw for us and shared with me. So let me tell her forecast. Then we die with our eyes open if we are going to die, or know what death we baffle if we can. Sirens weaving a haunting song over the sea we are to shun, she said, and their green shore all sweet with clover. Yet she urged that I alone should listen to their song. Therefore, you are to tie me up tight as a splint, erect along the mast, lashed to the mast, and if I shout and beg to be untied, take more turns of the rope to muffle me. I rather dwelt on this part of the forecast, while our good ship made time, bound outward down the wind for the strange island of Sirens. Then all at once the wind fell, and a calm came over all the sea, as though some power lulled the swell. The crew were on their feet briskly to furl the sail and stow it. Then, each in place, they poised the smooth oar blades and sent the white foam scudding by. I carved a massive cake of beeswax into bits and rolled them in my hands until they softened. No long task, for a burning heat came down from Helios, lord of high noon. Going forward, I carried wax along the line and laid it thick on their ears. They tied me up then plumb amidships back to the mast, lashed to the mast, and took themselves again to rowing. Soon as we came smartly within hailing distance, the two sirens, noting our fast ship off their point, made ready, and they sang. Their lovely voices and ardor appealing over the water made me crave to listen, and I tried to say, "Untie me," to the crew, jerking my brows. But they bent steady to the oars. Then Perimedes got to his feet, he and Eurylochus, and passed more line about to hold me still. So all rolled on until the sirens dropped under the sea rim and their singing dwindled away.